Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danilo from the King Realty Group. Everyone's having a great day today, and welcome to this month's market update. Hey guys, welcome back again to another installment of the King Realty's market update. Again, guys, want to clarify the purpose of these videos here is just to provide you guys with a little bit more information of what's going on in our marketplace. And I think one of the biggest takeaways that you need to take away from the video is not just the stats, not just the numbers that we talk about, because we do give a lot of generic values that apply to big, large geographical areas, but may not speak to exactly your neighborhood and your community. But I think what you need to take away from this is on the large scale scheme of things is, just the interpretation of these numbers. What does it mean in this marketplace? When a news network takes a part of these numbers and they put it out there as a story, what does that really mean to me? Because sometimes it looks so daunting that it looks like there's such of a negative outlook on the real estate market as a whole, but that may not be the case at all. In fact, there's a few stats that we're going to focus on this month that may kind of give you a different perspective and help you guys understand that we're not in such a bad place. Okay, so again, just to kind of reiterate the stuff we go through, we take a look at the average price points of property here in the GTA, detached homes, semis, townhomes, and condo apartments. Also, we take a look at the sales stats of February in comparison to last year. And we take a look at months of inventory, which gives us a gauge of whether we're in a buyer or a seller market in different micro markets. We're looking at York region, Peel region, Durham, City of Toronto as well. Okay, and those are the things we focus on, and also some of the most interesting stats that came out. So perfect, guys. Let's just dive into these stats here then, and let's start off by the average price point of the GTA. This is taking in consideration all housing types, and let's take a look here. We'll put it up on the screen. So as you see, guys, we have an average sale price of $768,000. This is actually down 12.4% from the same period last year. So again, guys, this GTA average price is taking into consideration all housing types. Okay, guys, let's take a look at the detached home price here. It's just hovering above $1 million, and that's down 17.2% from last year. Now, guys, we talked about this before. Detached and low-rise have been struggling over the last few months, but this was anticipated. There was reasons for this to happen, and it all started last year. And we've talked the story a bunch of times that in April, Government of Ontario implemented a few rules that changed the landscape of real estate here in Ontario. However, having said that, 17.2 seems like a very daunting, number, and it seems like it's gone down drastically. But our price points are still up there over $1 million. And another thing that's affecting those particular price points over $1 million is that at the beginning of this year we implemented or OFC. And there was new mortgage rules that got implemented for people who are putting more than 20%. Now, if you guys didn't know, anytime you purchase a property over $1 million, you have to put 20%. Okay, and what we do know about this change in the beginning of the year is that people putting over 20%, their purchasing power is down about 15 to 20%. Okay, so what they were able to afford last year is not the same as what they were able to afford this year, and this is also having a little bit of an effect on detached homes at these price points. Okay. Moving along, guys, let's take a look at semi-detaches here. We have them at $757,000, and that's down 8.6%. Townhouses, we have them at $639,000, and that's down 2.9%. And again, we have condo apartments here that's contrasting all these other stats at $530,000, and it's up 10.1% in the month of February in comparison to last year. Okay, guys, so I just want to reiterate the differences between last year and this year at this same time period, okay? And this is why we're seeing such huge drops, and it seems so daunting, because January, February, and March of 2017 were record months. And so when we're comparing to these record months, it's likely that we're going to see drops. And so it's kind of, we shouldn't use last year's numbers as benchmarks, really, because it is really giving us a skewed understanding. It's making us feel like as if we have these huge drops, but it's not necessarily true. Okay, so there's a couple other stats that we're going to take a look at in the next little while that might give you a different perspective on all this sort of stuff. Okay, so moving on, guys, let's take a look at sales, and let's put it up on the screen here. So we see that we have 4,019 sales in the month of February last year. So that's actually a drop of 34.9%. And again, guys, this is in conjunction with the other stats that I was just talking about. There was a record amount of sales last year in February, and this year we're seeing a lot less. Now, it's because it's a record year. We don't really see that many sales in the month of February historically, right? And so now that we're getting a number that's a little bit more closer to normal, it seems like it's such a huge drop, but it really isn't. Okay. Moving on, guys, let's take a look at months of inventory. Again, this is the gauge of whether we're in a buyer or a seller's market. Anything below the 5 months of inventory is more so seen as still a seller's market. And if we're going over 4 or 5 months of inventory, then we're creeping into a buyer's market where, you know, properties are staying on the market a lot longer, and where a buyer has a little bit more power when he puts in that offer and he's able to negotiate a little bit more. Okay, so let's take a look at this, guys. Let's start with Toronto. Let's put it up. So we see here in Toronto we have 1.8 months of inventory, 1.89, sorry, and that to me shows me that we're actually in a seller's market in Toronto, and it's been that way for the last little while. And so sometimes, you know, we have clients that or customers that do call us and ask about you know, how the prices are going, and you know, if they're able to sell their property. I would say that you can do that in Toronto. Now there's different pockets of Toronto that are a little bit better than others, but if you prepare your house in the right way and you differentiate yourself from the competition, other comparable properties for sale in the neighborhood, you can do well on a sale here in the city of Toronto. It is still technically a seller's market. Okay. Let's move on to Durham, guys. Let's pull it up here on the screen. Durham, we have 2.29 months of inventory, still in the seller's market region. Peel, we have it at 2.27 months, so it's very similar to Durham in the sense that, hey, if you do the right thing, you can sell your home for a good price, and you shouldn't be on the market for too long either. Okay. If we're moving into York, a little bit different. We're at 4.53 months of inventory. It's a little less than it was last month, but at the end of the day, still hovering around the 5 mark. And yeah, definitely in York, it's a completely different thing. Out there, as a buyer, you still have a little bit more negotiating power. You're able to drop prices down, putting conditions for financing, inspection, all that sort of stuff without anybody challenging those conditions. And you know, there's opportunities out there for buyers. Okay, not to say that there's any opportunities in other markets. I think that there are, especially when somebody overprices a property or the marketing isn't that great and they don't have the activity that they expected. All that stuff happens in any market because not every realtor is going to do the right thing for their clients. Okay, so guys, continuing on here, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about some of these other topics. So some things that we need to kind of remember. 2017 was a record year, guys. Okay, so we're seeing drops in sales at 34%. And it seems like it's so daunting, but it's not really, because last year was record months. It's not a good picture. It's not a good benchmark to compare to, because you know, comparing to a record month, it seems like we have such huge drops, but it's not the case. Okay. One thing you need to note, though, guys, is despite these other drops in low-rise, condos have been very resilient over these last few months. I don't think there's been a month where it was in the negatives in terms of price appreciation. This is all throughout the time where low-rise homes were dropping by 15-20% in some areas. Didn't happen for condos. Okay, so that's one thing that you need to understand. And why is this? Because condos and even entry-level townhomes that are around that $500,000-$600,000 mark, those are entry-level homes, and there's a lot of demand for that type of property. So for that reason, you know, we're going to see increases in prices. What the general consensus is that we're going to see increases in prices for all housing types, but the strongest growth is probably going to be in that condo, townhouse, or condo market where the price points are a lot more affordable. Okay. A couple other things we want to see, guys, is this a couple interesting stats that I think you should really consider. Okay, so we're seeing a drop in prices for detached, semis, and townhomes in the GTA at the moment if we compare 2017. But let's compare to 2016. Okay, when we compare to 2016, we actually see that on average prices are actually up around 12% in the last 2 years. If we half that, that means that each year property increased by about 6%. And that's actually in line with our 35-year Toronto Real Estate Board increase benchmark. Okay, it's around that 6% mark. And it always kind of comes down to that 6% mark where on average, like whether there be ups and downs in real estate like there is in any cyclical market, it ends up averaging out to about 6%. So even though we had a huge a huge increase in a couple of years, and then all of a sudden we had a year that dropped a bit, if you run a line right through that those peaks and valleys, we're at 6%. Okay, and that's a very, very good price appreciation when your house is worth almost $1 million. Okay, so consider that, please. Okay, and the other one too as well is that we should also take a look at month-to-month appreciation as well, and we can do that now in the month of in the year 2018, because we've had 2 months of information. So from January to February 2018, prices on average rose 4%. Okay, so that tells me that hey, prices are on the rise, okay, and it's going in the right direction. And when we compare to 2017, it's not as crazy as it seems, and it's not as daunting as it seems. And I think those are the things that we need to kind of take away from this, okay? Perfect. So that's it, guys. This is the monthly stats for February. So we're in March today. We're looking at last month's stats, and this is what we do every single month. Hope this was good information from you. My apologies. I know I wasn't able to use my green screen setup and give myself the lighting that I wanted and put myself with a nice background and stuff. I had to kind of improvise because it's already the 15th and we need to get this stuff done. Take care, guys. Thanks so much for taking your time to watching this video. We'll talk soon. Take it easy.